All right, me again. I figure while I've got everything set up, let's go ahead and do an actual non-contest, non-thread type video since I just did those. That's why I'm wearing the same thing if you paid attention to my last couple of videos. I've gotten one new album in today. Actually, not today, this week. Came in the other day. It's one of those ones that's been sitting out there in the mail for a while, but you know, was just a random eBay, Facebook buy. And so it came in, and I got to thinking, you know, I'm gonna go back and revisit all of these. So here we got. This is what I got. I got the Peter Criss solo album. Now, I did previously already have and have shown the picture disc version. This was a sort of kind of not intentional. I ordered it on like Amazon, and I don't recall it being listed as a picture disc. And so when I got it, I'm like, it's the picture disc. I'm not a big picture disc fan. Don't mind them. But as far as a listening copy, I don't tend to go out and grab picture discs. I got it for a really good price. I'm thinking this was like $10, $12, so I didn't complain. But I knew in the back of my mind at some point I wanted to get an actual, you know, non-picture disc version. This is actually the version that is in the box set that came out, what, a year or two ago? And so it is on green. My assumption is the person who bought the box set hates this album, so they sold it. Didn't come with the poster. Everything else it came with, I don't know if he kept the poster, forgot the poster, or what, but I'm not too worried about it because I don't think I have the others. So this does complete, you know, my actual, and these are mostly, I think these are all like more original. None of the, well, no, the Gene Simmons one is one of the reissues. So I believe, yeah. And then the other two are not. So what I did the other day is I went back, like the day I got these, is I went back and listened to all 4 of the albums back to back, because I've always declared that this is one of my highest favorite albums, and I know most everybody hates this album. I won't say it's as high as Ace Frehley, but it's one of my favorites. So I said, well, let's go back and revisit them all, because here's the impression. I know I bought these when they came out. When these came out in 1978, I remember seeing these on display at the Montgomery Ward's music department, and convincing my parents and my mother probably to buy these for me. So it was great. You get 4 Kiss albums at one time. Okay, loosely, you know, not really Kiss albums, but still. And at first I was gravitated towards this. I always loved Gene Simmons. I love Monsters and all that stuff. So this was always considered one of my, you know, great albums. To me, this album sounded just like basic Kiss, kind of like just the poppy side of Kiss. It just sounded too much like Kiss. So I never really thought much of this album. It was okay, but it was like, it's just the same old boring stuff that you hear with Kiss. And then this was quite different, and I don't think in the very beginning this was as high on my list. I think for the longest time, this and this were my favorite of the bunch for the longest time. When these first came out, I'm talking first couple years, these were the favorite. This just because it sounded so cool, and this because it sounded so different. But the songs were very catchy and sing-along and wonderful music. So over the years, this grew to become my favorite. And I think most everybody I know, this is their favorite. It's just solid. And so when I re-listened to it the other day, I'm just thinking, yeah, there's no way. But I will say, in revisiting this, I knew all the songs, obviously. They're still embedded in my mind. And I realized, wow, this is actually a lot higher quality record than, for some reason, I had always kind of, you know, put it out as being. Yes, it sounds sort of like Kiss, but it's still not. And so I was just like, oh, okay. So this jumped up a lot. Now, would I change my ranking on them? It'd be kind of tough. What I would say at this point is, my gosh, all 4 of these albums are just great. I don't think there's, I have to give them credit where they're due. Now, it's just, this jumped up to where now I think they're all really on equal footing a lot of times. Now, which one would I listen to the most? Well, I'm going to say these 2 still I listen to the most. And that's really hard to say, because I still think I still think this is probably, you know, still my highest, probably the best album, because the songs on here are just ingrained in my head. Every drum lick, and you know, I heard somebody playing live with some of these songs with him recently, and I'm thinking the drummer's doing it all wrong. When you've got these drum licks in your head that have been there since the 70s, and then you hear a band get up there and not do them quite right, I'm sorry. It just, as a drummer, I'm a drummer, then it's kind of like, come on. I have been air drumming that drum part for decades, and you're going to get up there and play it screwed up like that? Anyway, that's just me. But this still, and again, I'm going to say, as I've said in other videos about this, if you took Peter Criss, all things off of this that were Kiss related, and put this out in the general market, I think it would get more respect. You know, maybe the kind of music, the rhythm and blues and some of the soul type stuff you find on here, I think in that market, people who like that kind of music, this album would be stellar. I think that the people in that market are not going to buy this album because of this and this. If you take this and this, anything that looks like Kiss the rock group off of this, and you put it out as a rhythm and blues album, it would be phenomenal. And that's why I don't think it really took off. And then, of course, because of this and this, the music that's on here is hated by these people. So I'm one of these people that has a wide enough variety to where even from the 70s when I bought this all the way up to this day, this album I sing in my head quite often. This album has so many hooks and catches that this album is still high on my ranks. So I will say I've really grown to like this album a lot more than I used to give it credit for. And Gene's album is still, you know, it's really hard to rank these. It's really hard because I used to say Paul was the weakest, but now I don't think that. I think after re-listening to them all back to back the other day, which was yesterday, I believe, I think they're all, in my mind, equally great. Equally great. I would listen to any of them any time of the day and still love them all. I may have my favorites. I may have my favorite songs on each one, but overall, I'm not finding any weakness here that I would complain about. I think they're all really great. There were times in the Gene Simmons album that I'm like, wow, I really forgot how much I like that song. And the same thing with the Paul. Wow, I forgot all about that song. Anyway, that's all for now. Thanks for hearing my rambling. That's it. Rock on. See you later.